Webflow is something that I've been meaning to learn for a long time, and in this video I wanted to do just that. This will be a Webflow tutorial, and we'll be learning it together. I'm going to take you through what Webflow is, how it works, and why you should be able to use it, or where it fits in the whole paradigm of doing design and development. My name's Adrian, and I do videos around design and development, so if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe, and let's just jump straight into it. Now, if you've never heard of Webflow before and you're asking yourself, what is this? Well, it's sort of like what we've seen before on site builders like Wix, for example, except it's more specialized to developers and designers. In this platform, we're able to build out pages, and we get all the tools available to how you'd normally do them. For example, if we were building out a template here, we can select up columns and rows and create responsive designs, and we can create out almost a page, but without actually working directly in the code here. Instead, we have a nice editor, and this editor gives us a lot of tools. We'll be able to do things like padding, margins, lines, colors, backgrounds, and throw in images. We can then test out how the responsive design works, and all of this is managed directly inside of the browser. Now, this is a really cool experience. It means that we'll be able to do things that Adobe XD and Figma does, where we're designing out a page, but at the same time, we're building out the code for that as well, because this is built in the background. And this will be something interesting we can check out. In this video, I'm thinking that we might design a page to test out for. I'm thinking maybe something along the lines of a restaurant or an ordering app where we can build out a design for that and see how this goes in Webflow. On top of that, we'll maybe have a look at some of the other tools that it provides, maybe some of the analytics and real-time editing, because I think there's a lot of potential for Webflow and what it can do. From what I can see here, it even does e-commerce, and this could completely replace, say, platforms like WordPress or Wix as well. So let's jump in and create a brand new account. I'm going to create a new account by clicking Get Started, and in this case, I'm just going to sign in with my Google account. Once that's done, I should be able to jump straight into it, so let's take a look. The single sign-on allows me to create my first account here, so let's put in my details, and let's go through some of the questions here. So in this case, I'm both a developer and a designer, so I'm just going to select Other for this. And in this case, I'm just going to select maybe clients and part of an agency. In terms of experience, I'd say I'm a bit up there, and in terms of the type of sites I want to do, maybe an e-commerce store would be pretty good. Let's select to finish this, and we can now get started. So we've got two options here. We've got one for a business starter and one for a blank site. And we've got some templates down here as well. But I think what I'll do is I'll start off with a blank site. We really just want to begin, and let's take a look at what we get here. So I really like this dark theme that we're already getting. And let's see, we've got a bit of a tutorial here too. Let's run through this to see what we get. Now, we've got a few things here. We've got a box model for responsive web standards. We can add elements here at the top left by selecting the plus sign and selecting the element we want. We literally drag and drop it in, so that seems pretty standard. Up here at the top right, we can style our elements, and this is similar to, say, Sketch and Figma and other design tools. Then over here on the left, this looks like our navigator, sort of like where we would have our code or divs or tags. And I suppose this will be grouped or componentalized or something like that. And finally, we can preview the site with the little preview button here at the very top. All right. We also have some design responsive tools here, so we can select a desktop, mobile, landscape, portrait. And at the bottom here, we've got a reset walkthrough in case I didn't get any of that, but that's pretty cool. And I guess now we can get started. So this is our blank page, and this is a bit interesting. I guess we'll just select the plus tool here at the top. And what I might want to do is a menu. So let's have a look at the components we have here. We've got some layout tools here. So sections, containers, grids, columns, and we also have some basic content here. So these are like divs, lists, list items, buttons. We've got some typography tools here. So things like paragraphs and headings and block quotes. We've got some stuff here for a CMS and media as well, for images and YouTube and stuff. We've got a whole section here for forms, where we can create some forms and inputs and checkboxes. And then down here, we also have some pre-made components. So things like drop-downs and sliders and Facebook tabs and searches. So that's pretty cool. So these are all under elements here. Let's have a look at what we get if we select layouts. So for layout, it looks like we get some pre-existing pre-made component sections that already has some components in there, and that's pretty cool. In this case, I might pull over this sticky nav and just select it. And here we straight away get some navigation. So here we've got a section for the logo. We've got 2 links here and a button. So I'll be interested to see how we can edit those. I've got the button here. And let's have a look at what other components we have here. So here on the left, we've got the add elements. This next one here is symbols. Now, it doesn't really tell me what it is for symbols. No symbols defined. I suppose we'll be creating those later. This navigator here. This looks like it's essentially our tags, almost like editing the page when you do an inspect on Google Chrome, and you're doing some editing on the component there. We've got our pages here. All right, so here we've got our home page, and I suppose if we want to do more pages, we can select them. We can create folders as well. We also have a CMS here. Now, I might take a look at that later, but this is pretty interesting. I guess we can have a look at how that works. And then we also have e-commerce. Now, enabling e-commerce, let's see what this says here. To turn your website into a store, we'll need to do a couple of things, create products, categories, and a couple of other stuff. For now, I'll hit cancel on that. We might take a look at that a bit later. We've got assets, and I suppose this is sort of like media and documents and stuff I upload for the page. And we've got our settings, which just has search and backups. I guess we don't really have to worry about that too much right now. Here on the right, I'm going to select this sticky nav and have a look at the options I have. So on the top right here, we've got styling. And here we've got a selector. And this selector is sort of like our class names, I guess. We just have the sticky nav as a class here. And then we've got some layout options. So here we've got a layout for a full width. Maybe this is vertical. This looks like a grid. This here looks like an inline block. And this one here also is like a text inline block. And here is hidden. So if we hit that, the whole element disappears. If we select this, everything's centered in this element. This one sort of grids it, but that sort of seems to have broken it. So I don't want to do that. And here it's just an inline block. And this is just almost like a span here for the last one. So that's pretty interesting. We also have some tools here for the margins and the padding. And if we take a look at that, we can actually edit that. So for example, if I was to select 10 pixels here from the top and the bottom, that just dynamically updates. And yeah, that's pretty cool. So in this case, I might leave it at 10 pixels. I'm pretty happy with that. And let's take a look at the next thing here. So we've got a width, and we can set the width to whatever we want. So in here, maybe I'll put in 500. And this sets the pixel width to this header element here to 500 pixels. We could probably change this. Say we'll do 75 and we'll do view width. So this is 75 view width units, and that's the same as about doing 75%. Now let's see what else we can do here. We can do EM, CH, auto. In this case, I might leave it to auto just because I want to utilize the full width. And then we've got overflow. So overflow, we've got these nice icons here. So overflow is visible, it's hidden, it's auto. And we've also got a fit here. And I'm guessing this will be sort of maybe for a background image or something like that. And we can even move that around. So that's pretty cool. So I'm just going to exit on that. We've got a position element here. Now, right now, this is set to static, and I guess this will just make sure that it's floating at the top, but later maybe we can do some absolute positions and other stuff. And we also have some topography in here to the right, so that's pretty cool. We've got our background color. So if I was to say select this and do, oh no, I've selected the page, so let's undo that and select our header. And let's scroll down here. So here we are for the background. I'm going to select a plus sign, and I guess that'll add a background image there. We've got other options here too, like a background linear gradient. We've got another one here, but in this case I might select a solid color of black with 100% opacity to see how that looks. So far so good. I might undo that change. So let's see if I hit Control Z. It looks like it just undoes all my changes, and that's really cool. Control Z is probably my favorite feature so far on here. We've also got a border radius. Now we're not really using any borders, so let's select an option here. We've got a border option here of solid, dotted, dashed. So what I might do is actually select our item here for the header and select a solid border. So we've got a solid black border here, and I might change this color to maybe a slight gray. So it looks like that's updated in real time. That's pretty cool. And what I want to do here is maybe make it just a little bit lighter. So let's actually make it maybe a CCC color, and that'll be just a light gray. There we go. And we can also do a few other things here. We can do the width to 21 pixels. We could have the border just to the bottom, I think. Let's have a look. No, this is applying the border as it is to all sides. I'm going to set that to 0. And for the bottom one, I'll just do 1 pixel here. There we go. So that's looking a lot better. We also have a global opacity here. That's cool, as well as some effects such as box shadows and stuff like that. Let's add a small box shadow here. Let's do a distance of maybe 12 units with a blur of maybe 6. Actually, let's do a blur of 12 with a distance of 6 units. And let's do the color here as maybe 15% black. So that gives it a nice background blur, so to speak, or box shadow anyway. There's other effects in here, but at least this gets us started with the styling. We've got a little tool here, which we can, I suppose, do some more editing on this item. So right now this item has an ID of nav. Its tag is as a header. Now we've got some visibility options here, but I can't select those because I suppose, let's see, we're removing the visibility controls, but don't worry, you can use display none. Okay. We've got some custom attributes we can add in here, and that's about it. Now let's have a look at this. Next one is style manager. So I guess I'm not too sure what this one does, but we might take a look at that later. And finally, interactions. So here, select an element on the canvas, so this one here, and select the plus. So when a user taps on this item, we can perform different interactions, like animations and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I don't want to do any animations right now, so I'll just undo that. And finally, let's have a look at the responsive options here at the top. So we can do desktop, tablet, mobile, and very small mobile. And I guess we can also expand this out depending on what we want it to do. But yeah, no, that's really cool. So let's expand this out to desktop. And I guess we can start styling this page. There is a cool little idea I had to create a bit of a restaurant app. So what I'm going to do is type in restaurants here, and maybe we can start building out the idea for such an app, because I think there's a few different options that we could do. The idea behind the restaurant app would be something simple like a little iPad or a phone app where people can order their menus directly from the app. Let's see if I can drag and drop this straight into Webflow, this image that I'm pulling here from Unsplash, because that'd be pretty cool if I could. Doesn't seem to be working, so instead I'm going to select to add an element. And in this case, the element I want to do is maybe a hero overlay. And for this hero overlay, I want a background image. So I'm going to see if we can assign one of those. I'm selecting the element over here. And let's see what tools I have on the styling. So here on the right side, I do have an item here for backgrounds. And here is one for opacity. And here is one for a background image. So I'm going to select this background image. And I'm going to select an image for this one. In this case, I can drag it straight into my assets. So let's actually give that a shot. It doesn't seem to be dragging in there. So instead, I'm going to select upload. And in here, maybe I'll just go to my folder here for design and drag it in here. And let's have a look if we can pull that in. There's the image I want to use, so let's actually double click on that. And I think that's uploading. There it is. So now that that image is uploaded, let's see if we can simply select it and if it'll use it. So it looks like it has. The image is a little bit too large, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select cover here on the right, and that seems to have fit in much more nicely. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now we've got a hero text in here, and we'll have to have a title for this. So for the title, maybe order app, or what should we call this? I think order app should be fine. Maybe orderapp.io. We might give it a full name later. And then we'll give it a bit of hero text underneath here, a description. So order food directly from your own phone or iPad. Great. Nice and simple. Now this whole section here, it's a little bit big. So I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit smaller. Let's see what options we have here. Now, right now it's got a view height, and that is set to 90. I'm going to set it to 50, and I think that's a little bit better. We might throw in an image of maybe an Android or an iPhone in later. But what I want to do is maybe actually pull this in here to the left. So right now it's at line center. I'm going to align it to the left, especially if we've got that image on the right side later. All of it's aligning left except for the button here. There we go. So that's left as well. So what should this button be? This button is like a call to action. So I'm going to double click it here, and it looks like I can edit the text directly. So let's do find out more. That's the button there. This title here as well, I think the name might be a little bit generic. So let's do something like menu ordering. Or maybe app menu ordering. Yeah, I think that's good. Order your food directly from an app. Order your food directly from a mobile app. There we go. Let's line break this. And I think that should be okay. I just don't like this font. So this is Arial, but we do have a few different options here. And for food, I'm thinking something that has a few more lines, so it's a little bit more interesting. I do like some of these, but we have to give it something, and we only have these options here. For now, I'm probably just going to go with either Lato or PT Sans. I'm thinking Lato. Lato looks okay. And for the other one, maybe Roboto, if we have that. I can't see it in there, so we might have to manually add it in here. We've got an option here to add fonts. So let's select that to see what options we get. We can actually add fonts directly from Google. So that's really cool. So I'm going to select to add Roboto in there. We can create a few different options here with a few different weights. So I'm just going to do 300, regular, 500, 700, and 900. And I'm going to select add. So that should add it into the project, but we can also do a custom font as well as Adobe fonts. So that's really cool as well. I suppose we just go right back in here and let's try that once more. So I'm going to select the font here and hopefully Roboto is there. I can't see it. So I'm going to refresh the whole page maybe. Changes you made will not be saved. Ooh, okay. So we have to save the changes. I did not know this. Here, all right, changes saved, beautiful. All right, so we'll reload this page. And now that we've added in this font, I suppose it'll just work. So let's select this one back here. And let's go to fonts. And yes, we do have Roboto. So I can set that and update it. And we've got light, medium, bold, black. So in this case, I'm just going to do light. And I want this to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to increase this to maybe say 18 pixels. and the title section here to be maybe 48 pixels. So that's a lot bigger, but it just stands out nicely. Now we've got a little pop-up here saying quick find. So we can hit Control E to find anything we want. So say order. Okay, I guess that only search elements. So we'll leave that for the time being, that's fine. Now, the next thing I want to do is maybe grab an image of a mobile render or something like that and put it in here. So let's see what options we have. I've gone to a website called mockupphone.com and we're selecting iOS here. And I want to grab a mockup of maybe an iPhone X. We've got a few options here and I'm just going to select this one just here. And I think we won't have an image for it. So I'm thinking we'll keep it simple for now. We'll just do the restaurant app in here, or maybe we won't do any image at all, but let's have a look. This image has to be X and Y. That's fine. We'll just want a basic photo of an iPhone here. In this case, we don't have an image for it yet, so since we're doing that, we might just go straight to the Facebook design resources. And we've got actual mockups for all the devices over here, and that's really cool. In this case, I just want to grab one of them, which will be very nice for our design. So I'm just going to select maybe the iPhone XS over here and just download that one. So let's select that one just over here. And this is a zip, but I should be able to drag this, I guess, into our assets folder. So I think assets was just over here. I'm going to select upload and let's actually drag this one in. So this currently has a few options. I'm going to copy paste them here. And I might just grab this silver version so it stands out just a little bit. Now I want to drag this into our header here. So if I do that, wow, that's way too big. We're going to have to resize that. So for the size here, maybe I'll do a width of 50 pixels. So there it is. It's a tiny little thing over there. I might do that to 240 pixels. And let's see if we can move that about. Right now, it's sort of here on the right side. So I've just moved that here below. But realistically, maybe we need a grid block in here. So I'm going to see if we can turn this here, which is a centered container, into maybe a flex or a grid. We've got this option here, which sort of does that, or maybe we'll have to do it in here. So if we do it in here and we drag this in, now that's moving it all over the place. This is actually a little bit harder than I thought it would be. So here's our centered container. Let's add another container in here. I'm just going to put it underneath maybe or above. Let's put it above. And let's see if we can put our image here above. Then for this hero section, let's do, so what options do we have here? We've got our centered container. We've got a div block. Let's do another div block in here. So we've got one div block for the button. Let's move the button back up below this section. Okay. So one div block, a second div block. Here, columns. Let's do a column here. We'll do 2 columns. We'll move these items here on the left column. Beautiful. And then we'll move the phone here to the right column and we'll get rid of this other div block that we had. So here we have these 2. I'm almost wanting to swap them. So let's see if I can move them about. Can I? I don't think I can. So I might just drag them all here to the right and move the phone here to the left. There we go. So that's looking a little bit better. Now for these columns, I feel like they're using a bit too much space there. I'm going to see if I can center them maybe. Let's have a look. We've got our hero overlay here. There we go. So this is centered as a container now. So that looks a little bit better. And they don't have as much room now. Now let's see if we can edit how these columns work. So right now, if we select these columns, grow if possible. So this one here on the right, we want to grow, and the one on the left, we want to stay the same. So I'm going to select this one here to grow. Does it have an option for that? It doesn't really have an option for that. What else can we do? Maybe we can resize it. Let's see if there's a dragging tool for that. Not really. We do have some more tools here on the right. So in this case, I'm gonna see if we can maybe make this 4 columns. There we go. So that's what I was looking for. So here we can change how many columns each has. We could do 3 columns or we could do 4 columns. I like 4 columns because it means this phone is a little bit bigger. And then we could give this, say, a negative margin. So let's do a negative margin of 50 pixels, or even more than that, maybe 140, negative 140. Let's have a look at how that looks there. So it's almost overflowing a little bit there, and I can add a background to this phone later. But at least it gets us started with this design. And I guess we can have a look at creating the next section. The only thing I don't like about this is it seems to be breaking the line, and this doesn't seem to have enough padding. So let's see if we can center these. We've got a few options over here. So we can do sizing. It uses the full screen width. What other flex options do we have? Here we got alignment and order. So here I want it to be centered. And that doesn't seem to be working. Let's try it on here. So here, this is a display. So I've got a few different options in here. But for this display, do we have some flex options? I can't particularly see any. Show all settings. So this is a div. It's 4 columns and 8 columns. No, I'm not seeing that. So maybe it is on this section over here. We do have alignment options. Here we go. So the alignment might be thrown out of whack because of the negative margin there, I'm thinking. So we'll have to play around with that. For the time being, I'm thinking we'll just leave this here from the top, just so that it looks like it's centered, but it's got a bit of an overflow there. Let's create out our second section over here below our navigation. I'm going to select to maybe use a pre-made layout. And I think I'm going to go straight for the cards over here maybe. Or let's see what other options we have here. Yeah, definitely the cards. So I'm going to pull and drag that straight in here. And I suppose we can give an introduction to the app. So for the app here, what is order app? So in here we can maybe write a little bit about this application, but for this whole section here, I want to give it a bit of a background tint. Now we don't have any colors yet for our theme, but we can make something up. So I'm thinking for restaurants and stuff, some green colors or some slightly yellow greens would be good, just to give it a bit of life. And we could even do a linear gradient for that. So actually, let's select a linear gradient if we have that option over here. I'm going to select the plus sign, select the gradient tool over here, select our first color as maybe, let's see, should we use a dark green or a dark yellow? And then for the second color over here, instead of white, maybe we'll go to that yellow color. Don't think that looks very good at all. I might leave it as white, but we'll start off with the white color and it'll slowly blend into a very subtle green, maybe a light green, just to give it that sort of a green earthy color. I also wouldn't mind some background trees for this section over here, or maybe some fruit or vegetables or leaves or something. What I might do is go to shapedivider.app. And in here we can build out a couple of shapes that look really good. For the color, I do want that green color, so I'm going to select that with some maybe waves or curve. Let's see what options we have. I like the waves with opacity. Let's do what's inverse. Flip, bottom divider, height. We'll just make it slight and we'll make it a little bit wider. There we go. Let's select to grab this one. And this one is a div. So what I'm going to see is if we can put this straight into our content as a custom div. I'm going to select the block element here. I'm going to select a custom div element. And I'm going to see if I can paste this code in. So this will be interesting because I want to paste in raw code, but if I do this, if I paste it in here, it doesn't really work. So what I really need to do is see if we can, here we go, export code. Now this is for the whole section. We don't want to export all of the code. We just want to edit the code block here for this one section. We do have some tools here. We've got some editing options. What else do we have here that we can utilize? So I'm sure there must be a section in here where we can edit the code directly. Here are our pages. Here we've got our breakpoints. Over here we do have export, publish. We've got our styling here. How do we do that? That's a really good question. Let's quickly Google it. So edit code directly and Webflow. And let's check that out. So what we have to do is we have to double click on the element and select the element, press edit or press enter and select the code editor under the settings section. So let's give that a shot. So we're gonna double click on this element. Oh, I think I saw it. Let's try that again. Here it is. No, that's body cards editor. No, text block. No, no, I'm not seeing it. Editing settings. No, no, it's not in there. You are not able to edit the underlying HTML. The design is auto-generated within Webflow. You can only edit the code within the embedded code component. All right, so what we have to do is get rid of this component. We'll select up a different component and let's have a look. It's a coding component. Maybe it's at the bottom, embed. Embed is available when you upgrade. So right now we can't embed our own code. We'll just have to work with what we have here. So in this case, I guess we can't use this image, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. That's part of life. Sometimes things simply don't work out. I guess what we can do for this is let's actually remove this background here that we have, because I don't really like this linear gradient. So let's go here to styling. Let's go to the color. Let's get rid of that. And let's also get rid of this tinted yellow as well. And maybe we'll do a light background image. So we'll go to Unsplash. Let's go here to Unsplash. And let's select app food. And we've got a few options here. And I think maybe I'll use something like this one here. This one's nice and simple, but we can overlay it later on with something else. So let's actually grab our media section here and we'll upload this. And I'm gonna upload it straight to our folder like before because I can't drag it and drop it in here. I'm just gonna do that. Let's actually open this up and copy it into our folder before we upload it. Here we go. And I'm just gonna grab it here. And then we should be able to set that as a background. So let's do background image, select an image here. And I suppose we'll just select this one. Will that work? No, I don't think I've done that right. Let's undo that. Here is a background. The background image is choose image. And now we can select our image. Again, what I'm going to do is do this to cover, but I want the background image to not be fixed. And I also want it to have an opacity. So I wonder how I can do opacity for that. I can't select a color for it. This is a little bit tricky. So we've got our background image here. Let's choose the image again. We'll set it to cover. And that's all the options I get here for this section. But if I set the opacity here, it's sort of making the opacity on the whole section. I just want a background image with an opacity. So I'm going to remove all of that. And let's undo. Yep. And then let's see if we can just create a new component here. So let's put in a block somewhere here at the top. And let's see if we've got some more options to make this have an absolute position. So I'm going to do absolute position. And we want this to be 0 on all sides. And maybe we'll set a background for this. Maybe that'll work. I'm not sure if it will work. We'll make sure that this section above it is relative. So our background image block here, it can hold our image, which we can set an opacity to. So let's grab our image options here below. So I'm going to create an image, select an image. I'm going to do this one here that we had before as cover. So there's our image. And now what I want to do is set an opacity. So there's our opacity. That's what I wanted to be able to do. That's perfect. The only problem is this component is now taking priority over the other component. So this component below it, I'm going to also have to set to be a relative component. And that should make it work. So that's looking better. So now we've got our two sections. We've got our header. And we've got our introduction, which we can add some features. So this can be feature 1, this can be feature 2, and maybe this can be feature 3. And we can fill this out a little bit later with some images and stuff. I also might get rid of some of the padding on this block, because this block actually does have quite a lot of padding at the top and bottom. So I'm gonna see if I can reduce that down to maybe say 60 pixels. Maybe 50 pixels. Yeah, I think 50 pixels works a little bit better. And let's do that from the bottom as well. So let's select this div block. And let's reduce that down to 50 pixels. And then this image here, we still want this to overflow, but right now I'm pretty happy with that. So I might leave that as is. We might even remove the negative 140 that we're getting on here, just so that it fits in from the top. So that's pretty cool. And we'll create some images here a little bit later on. This whole section might actually do well with a bit of margin at the top. So let's do margin top. Let's see if we can increase that to say 50 pixels as well. And great, so there's our page. We've created a page here for an ordering app. We'll have a look at maybe adding in some pages and some content in the next video, and maybe filling out some of this content as well, and see if we can create even some e-commerce sections around this. So far I'm liking Webflow. It seems to have a lot of tools in there. I'll have to have a look at how I can edit my own code in there, because that's a pretty important thing to be able to do. But this gets us started, and it gives me an idea of how you can utilize this. We can also have a look at some of the responsive ways that this website will update, and we'll definitely have to work at updating some of this, because right now, while it works, I think there's a lot we can still do here to make sure that it does work properly in the responsive viewports. But I hope you guys enjoyed this introduction to Webflow. If you did, hit like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next part. Thank you.